Hello. Just waiting on our guests today. Got my water. That's good. It's good to have water. And hopefully the stream will work out like it's supposed to over on link. Seems to be good to see y'all and happy to hang out again with you. Hopefully this is a fun one today. While waiting for our guests to arrive, curious, here we go. Here's one of our guests. Yay.
Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm going all right. How are you?
Good too. So
Good.
I was making a fun here with the audio, but in the end, I was not able to find one that worked.
Mm,
I installed it on my how you say on my laptop, my
hmm.
notebook, and then it kind of destroyed my mic settings. And then I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I tested a different computer.
Oh, yeah. There's all sorts of fanciness that I don't know if you're on a Mac or a PC, but
Yeah.
there's tools that you can use to kind of reroute some of the audio settings, but it gets pretty complicated pretty fast.
Yeah, I'm on a
Um,
Mac, but I was trying one of these apps on the App Store
mm,
directly, and even one worked very well. There is a guy there. I could hear it so well, but the other person that was on the call could not hear me. So I was like,
mm,
oh,
mm.
not nice.
Well, I'm glad you're able to make it and to chat with us. I just got a notification that one of the people is unable to join. They got a flat tire, so they're
Oh,
going to join us at a different time. And
okay.
I'm still waiting on the third, but we can certainly start if you'd like. Zuzu, is this your name today? Yeah.
Yeah, I added here
Okay.
Zuzu. Yeah, I
Okay.
would like to add at least an image here. Sadly, it seems that you are not able, right?
I don't think there's a way to add an image. Ooh, Slime is now joining us too. So now we've got our other guest. Brilliant.
Oh,
We've got
slime.
Zuzu and Slime. Hello, Slime.
Hey, I'm not
Slime.
able to hear you. I don't
Can
know
you
if you
hear
can
me
hear
now?
me. No.
I am
No.
hearing you.
Okay, so Zuzu can hear me.
And
Slime.
slime too.
Okay. All right, let's see. Are you both
It's
able to hear
because
me?
my output is my microphone, but I'm not sure how to change that.
Okay, let's see. Um, let's see if I can change it. I cannot, but
Oh, I know
Maybe
how.
I'll leave and
see
try
on
You
the
again.
go you go to your name on the right, and
mhm.
then you have there. Oh, she left. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's that. That's what I was going to say on the bottom right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully we get
At least in
Slime
Zoom,
back.
in Zoom, when you want to, you can turn on the video and then put something in front of your video, and then you can put a picture.
Right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
here you cannot do
Okay.
that,
We're going to
sadly.
let Slime back in. Hopefully you can hear us. Hello, hello.
Hello, slime.
Okay, it looks like their output is going to the right place. Hello, Slime. Hello, hello.
Slime, if you have problems, there is on your name on the right side a little a little arrow be below echo cancellation that you can turn on, and you can see the settings.
Let's see. I'm going to chat with Slime here.
Sounds good. Oh, when you pass on top of mic, you can also choose it.
Yeah. Let's see if Slime is at least able to get the chat. Modern technology, right? It's fun. Oh, did we lose Slime again? We lost Slime again.
Yeah, I had me and Slime. We were like, "Oh, let's do this. Let's do on the 19th."
uh, well, we'll keep playing with it. Hopefully, we can get Slime here. But maybe it's a good idea to introduce ourselves and share what we do here and get into our topic. So, I'm Ryan, and I thought it'd be a good idea for the last few weeks to just have live discussions with others about topics that we don't normally get to talk about because our faces are included, or interesting things that we are checking out, or whatever the tour de jour is, and just have these conversations in kind of an open and honest way, if possible, and see how they turn out. And so far, so good. We've had some fun ones. And today we are talking with Zuzu, and hopefully Slime will be able to get in here
Hey, I can hear you.
about a couple topics that I think are pretty nascent and important, especially for the world of design. So the first being asking the questions that we dare not ask as designers. And then the second topic of breaking into design in 2025. Slime, can you hear us? Still not there. Let's see.
Yeah, I think they can.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can. Yeah. Brilliant. Can you hear us now?
I can. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. Well, welcome. Thank you both for joining me. I was just getting into the intros and sort of talking about the topics that we are going to be covering today, which are breaking into design in 2025 and I guess almost 2026, and asking the questions that we dare not ask as designers. And maybe Zuzu, the second was your question, and so I'm maybe thinking that we can start digging into that one first. And Slime, please jump in as we go. It's not meant to just be a conversation between me and one person at a time.
Yeah,
So
Ryan,
maybe,
I feel you are right. That
yeah.
and you know what about these questions that no one is daring to make, right? To
Mm,
ask. It's really related to also to get into the industry a lot of times,
mm,
right? Like a lot of people are searching for jobs and they are complaining about the job market, which is really not the best at the moment. But it's still, are
mm,
they really asking the right questions there? Like a lot of people I see around, they don't ask themselves what they can do to become a better designer, to get that one job, or how they could improve their portfolio over, instead of being complaining about those roles that don't exist in the place they want to be.
mm. And
So
so I'm curious, when you were bringing up the topic of asking the questions we dare not ask, is it in relation to the questions we ask ourselves?
as well,
Yeah.
I feel that many questions, like we dare not question many things, right?
Mm,
We see, let's say, a specialist in some area in design, and we dare not ask, is that the best way? Is that really the best practice?
so questioning questioning design itself is maybe a question that is hard for designers to ask.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I think for sure. I think in my experience in slime, I totally want to hear from you. I think there's uh, uh, generally speaking, I've found over the years that there's a narrative that to question design or to question the practice or to question technique or method um, doesn't always work out. That perhaps it doesn't turn into the nuanced conversation that the person asking the question wants it to be. Slime, I'm curious what your thoughts are around like questioning design and how we work and our technique and our method.
Yeah, I actually think almost on the flip side, like, of course, it's easier to play into the narrative. Oh, there's no jobs. Oh, the market is so tough. Oh, this, who wouldn't like to blame everything else except for themselves, right? So it totally makes sense from a
Mm,
psychological standpoint. Would it be more beneficial to maybe ask some of those questions that Zuzu was saying, like, well, is my portfolio good enough? Or do I
mhm.
know enough? Or how can I get some more experience instead of, you know, playing that blame game? People don't want to do that, right? Who wants to actually think that they might be the problem?
Yeah, well, I think that goes for any adult, any of
For
us.
sure. Yeah.
That I think um, it takes a lot of self awareness and probably self work to intentionally want to look at past decisions and past behavior and how that might have contributed to wherever we are. And I think you mentioned this word, and Zuzu, I don't know if you did as well, but we often hear this word "better" being used, and I think when it comes to portfolios or jobs, I think there's another word that might help us have those kind of hard questions or ask them of ourselves, and that's the word "different." That a lot of times when thinking about positioning ourselves in the job market, I actually think it's more beneficial to show up differently than other people are, and a lot of that starts with the acknowledgement that getting a job is really being in a competitive market with a lot of other people, and that in itself can be pretty intimidating. Uh, I wonder how you both think about that, sort of the differences between like being better or being different.
I love being different. I feel that is really good. It's still, that is also really hard to achieve when you are really entering the market, right? When you are a junior designer and you just left the boot camp, you just learned how to do 3 projects, you think, oh my
Mm,
God, you did your best. And that was your best, and definitely it is fine. And the better here, when I say, and if I said better, I mean, when people ask me like, what's your favorite project, and you are not able to say that was your last, there is a problem there, right?
mm,
Because if your best work was not better than the others that had before, there is something going on that you are not improving. And design is one of those skills that a lot of people think that you learn and that's it. There is no
mm,
improvement, there is no continuous learning, there is no more to do. So now I just need to get that job, and it's because I have a mentor, a teammate that is brilliant, that you teach me everything
mm,
they know. It's not really out like that altruism that you get to learn it yourself, that you try
mm,
to find the best content or other techniques for you to do something different, like you mentioned.
mm. And maybe we should really be talking about the job market for new designers, coming into the market versus experienced designers here. You bring up a good point that it's when you're first starting out, it's hard to be different. Um, and I imagine also hard to be better because when we talk about school, whether it's formal education, boot camps, learning on your own, uh, a lot of that early journey is learning technique that other people are learning, learning method and skills that are taught to a lot of people. Um, Slime, I'm curious, when you were wanting to talk about getting a role now in 2025 as a new designer, I'm curious, are you a new designer? Is that where you are? Or wanting to think about it in a different way, frame it for those that you know or are trying to?
So I'm not a new designer per se at this point in my career, but I was fairly recently, and I come from an unconventional background. So
Mm,
I made the transition, and I think that story is relevant or relatable to a lot of other people that want to get into design and see the boot camp and, oh, you can do this in how many weeks, and then the job market is there. And maybe that was true
mm,
several years ago, but probably not so much these days. And to your point about being better or different, I knew that there was going to be people better than me, countless people, when I graduated from school and I'm a junior and I haven't had that first experience yet. So I really did have to double down on that idea of being different. And that is
mm,
ultimately what helped me land that first role, along with a lot of luck. And I think that's what people also don't really feel comfortable saying is maybe you could be really great, even better than most, but it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to get the job or even get the interview, right? So there's a lot of luck that plays into it as well.
a tremendous amount of luck, for sure. I'm curious, like, without maybe disclosing too much, how different was your background? Was it, did you have a completely different major, found design in this different way, and you were like, "Oh, that's what I want to do," but I'm so close to getting a degree. I'll just finish out here. How did that process work? And then could you talk a little bit about how you were focusing on being different, and if there were any of those signals that helped you break in when you did?
Yeah, so if you would have looked at my resume when I was applying for my first design job, you definitely would have just thought, oh, this resume is in the wrong pile. Like it makes no sense. Like there was nothing design adjacent. It was really pulling teeth to try to make it sound UX or sound design, so to
Mm,
speak, right? But I really focused a lot more on the soft skills that I did develop in some of those more service-based roles, and my degree is in a much more technical
mm,
field than something creative, so to speak. So bridging that gap and actually doubling down on what made me different, right? It was those technical skills that I developed that set me apart from a lot of other creatives that had become designers, right? Same with those soft skills that I had developed in the service industry. I still use those skills every day as a designer, right? And those are not really the things that you're probably going to learn at design school or a boot camp. So
mm.
really focusing on those and amplifying them and being kind of loud and proud, if you will, really did help kind of differentiate me. And I think in a good way
Yeah,
from other designers.
yeah. In that sense, I imagine really differentiated you during the interviewing process. Um,
Completely. Yes.
yeah. So we can even separate it sort of like the barriers to get an interview versus when you are in there, and leaning on experience you had in the service industry, which is a lot, of, has a lot of similarities to something like customer experience or sales or support. Um, I imagine that was really helpful, in those conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, I think too, having like a technical background, right now we've seen a lot of the movement towards, I'm not going to get into like, should I be a PM or an engineer or a designer, like what am I think, the labels themselves can be often a trap, of, especially if we want to be different, but the multi-skilled, the sort of generalist, having that technical background, seems to be an advantage right now because these lines are blurring. Zuzu, I wonder if in your work or your role, if you're seeing similar, blurring of these lines.
Definitely. And, I was thinking a lot about it when you and Slime were mentioning these problems for, people that are just getting into design. And I also see the same problem by people that are too long into design, right? Because right now they are more expensive. They are being replaced somehow for cheaper work force, right? And
Mm,
also innovative, I would even say, is not just cheaper, it's like a more current and is more like the new generation type or style. So I feel that a lot of those people are also having that. And I also saw a lot of people coming to design recently, coming from music industry, from
mm,
psychology, from education, or even health, and wishing to just find their space into design. And then it feels so different too when you are a certain age, over 40, 45, coming to a new industry when the market is
mm,
already in trouble, even though you have this maybe technical baggage behind you, because then it's a little bit different that you have to play that from zero, right? And when these lines are blurring, that we now with AI we can build, we can deliver, we can uh, publish things without maybe a team, without a developer, or even support a startup is starting in a better way because we can consume many of those hats. It's so trouble making, because like as
mm,
much experience you can bring to those recent roles is also a problem on the other side, that what's the balance? Should I go for a junior designers that had a lot of experience in another field, or should I go from a junior designer that doesn't know anything and is just start as designers right now?
mm. Yeah, I think you bring up a really good distinction, that is that, like, breaking into design, I think we can often consider or think that, oh, that's only somebody early in their career, when in fact, um, a big trend over the last 10 years has been career switching. Folks who have previously had careers in other industries, in other type of work, and perhaps seeing design on the upward trend as an option, and perhaps also being interested in maybe working in an industry that uh, has been, paid fairly decently compared to other industries. So true. Um, I think, in a lot of this, and I'm curious for you both, is a lot of the conversations that I think we have around breaking into design, being a designer, being different, being good, are often led by people like me who have been doing this for a very long time. And I don't think I could ever capture the experience of somebody breaking in right now, because I'm not, and I can't assume that I would know what that experience is like, or any how it would be different than when I was earlier in my career. And so, related to that, I wonder, when it comes to, like, the questions that we're not asking, I wonder if we should be questioning who's the advice giver, and is their advice um, fitting for the moment, if you will. I'm just trying to tie it to, like, what are some of these questions about breaking into design that we want to ask, or maybe we ask in small circles, that are kind of taboo to ask in public. Either of you can answer, by the way.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
So I think this is especially relevant to my case because one of the things that I noticed was that there was this huge difference between the people telling me how to break into the industry but they hadn't lived that experience, and things were changing so much at the time that I was coming in. So that's actually why I started sharing my experience. And it wasn't
Mm,
because I was telling people what to do or because I was some expert, but because, hey, this is what I'm noticing and this is what I learned. And maybe that will be interesting to somebody else. And I actually noticed that becoming less and less relevant as time goes on, because now I'm another year, 2 years removed from
mm.
that experience, right? So you almost need to go back to the people living that experience now, because how much has that even changed? I don't know at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like, we should be stepping back into research or design,
Who would have thought?
the
Yeah.
skills to understand what other people are going through. And I think you hit on something really nascent there, which is pretty quickly after breaking into the industry, you're no longer experiencing what other people are experiencing in the current moment, especially I would say in the last 5 years or so. It's been all over the place, almost like every 3 months. It's a different experience of going through that.
Yeah, even in the last 2 or 3 years now, with, like, AI coming out and some of these generative tools for making your resume, curating a cover letter, like, you can even make a portfolio with
Hmm.
AI, and that did not exist when I was breaking into the industry, right? How can I possibly relate to that, right?
And I go further a bit. There are some of us that are more experienced with design, that we are creating content, we are creating courses, we are doing so much. And even what we used to do as a employee or as a contractor inside big companies is changing so fast that the things we are also doing is still not being done the same way.
Mm, very, very true. This all reminds me of, I am going to talk about my own experience of being early in a career and how everything felt different. Everything felt like change, and how important it was for me to be surrounded by people who encouraged that. And I think that's maybe one of the things that isn't being talked about right now is all this change, all this pressure to be, uh, you know, three roles at once, to incorporate AI or new tools or new process. All of this pressure is coming from a place that doesn't feel like encouragement. But really, for any of us to be like in that place of self leadership where we lean into creativity, we lean into curiosity, we really need to feel encouraged and supported. And that sort of dynamic, I imagine, for somebody coming into the industry right now or still working in it has got to feel like the least encouraging uh, environment to be in. Um, I don't know. I'm not working in it. Smile. Are you still? You're still working in industry, right? You're
I'm still
an
working, yes.
employee,
I
right?
am an employee, yes.
Yeah, yeah. How is it feeling? Does that resonate at all? Like the pressure to change, the pressure to do something, the pressure to learn something. Uh, are you kind of the person that needs to be encouraged or have support while doing that? And what's the difference when you don't?
I think if you wanna be a successful designer in today's age, it's not gonna be a good fit if you're the one waiting around for encouragement. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's a pretty competitive market where you need people that are proactive and lifelong learners and seeking out these opportunities, because there's not gonna be somebody waiting around to teach this to you. That's just the reality of it. So if you wanna stay relevant, competitive for roles, yes, there's a lot of new tools and stuff out there, but it's kind of on you. There's not going to be
Mm.
probably the training budget allocated so that you can take time out of your day to do this. If you want to be, a competitive candidate, it's on you. And yeah, that's not the most encouraging, but it's kind of the reality that I'm seeing.
Yeah. Uh, that actually reminds me of what it was like, you know, 25 plus years ago. Is it was an environment where everybody was kind of making it up on the fly,
That's kind of
and
what it's like,
yeah,
right? Like there's lots of mentorship available if you're looking for that, but that doesn't mean that there's the role also necessarily. There's kind of this like discrepancy in the industry where it does like there is
mm,
inclusivity in the community, but it still doesn't guarantee the role, right? So you still have to be competitive in a sense.
yeah, yeah, and maybe that forcing function of feeling like you have to be competitive doesn't encourage a lot of us within community with other designers to kind of share what we're learning. It might feel more of like, oh, maybe this is something that I have that other people don't. Maybe I don't want to share that. It creates uh, maybe a whirlwind kind of environment, a pressure cooker, if you will. But I think you're right. Right now, we're in this market where it's really tough to be the job seeker. That you're in an environment where there are people who are going to be committed in different ways, that are going to maybe take their own agency and learning. Um, and if you're waiting around for that, it might not be conducive right now to getting that role. Um,
And I have to agree. I have to
yeah.
agree. It's super competitive. It is hard for you to define what are your own goals and what you should be learning. And with the tools changing all the time, with the tools stopping working and others coming new and it's changing so fast, it's also hard to put your heart where it should be, right? Because if you don't start sharing or helping others to learn what you just learned, it means that nobody even you know that you learned something because tomorrow it might be irrelevant.
Yeah. One thing I can reflect on is that, when I was learning, all the environments for where other people, doing similar things to me, the environment of sharing felt very different. It felt open, everybody kind of going onto old school forums and literally saying, I have no idea what I'm doing with this. Here's my thing. And a whole lot of people jumping in and saying, have you tried this? Here's what worked for me. Like that sort of aspect of community and connection amongst peers feels very sort of different now. I obviously see lots of community happening of connection, but not really around peer mentorship, like learning together. Maybe that's me, but I'm curious, since you're a little bit earlier in your career, Slime, are you seeing that within community of where your peers are sharing with each other, teaching each other?
So I can only speak to my experience, and I did work very closely with a handful of peers, and that actually was one of the main differentiators I think that helped me land that first role because it
Mm,
was so encouraging when somebody got the first interview and we were all cheering for them. And then they
mm,
came back and didn't get it, but they shared all the questions that were really hard. And then we all learned from that. There's like something kind of invaluable about having that access to that information and also that support to kind of propel you forward. And it was to nobody's surprise in our cohort that we were the first 5 people that all landed full-time roles, right? So
mm.
pretty small sample size, correlation maybe, but it was one of the things that I recommend most to people when they're asking for this kind of advice, right? Because again, you need those people that are having that same lived in experience as you. I was job searching recently, but I'm at a senior level now. It's not the same as somebody that hasn't gotten that first experience, right? So
Right.
having somebody that does have that and can relate to you and has those exact same struggles, really, really valuable.
Mm. I love to hear that. There's Phil Terry's Never Search Alone. I think that a lot of more senior people have looked at too, but it's really built around that structure of getting together, sharing the experience of interviews, with each other, kind of helping each other through that process. Slime, if I could follow up, I'm curious because you're a senior now. When it comes to the craft, sort of developing or improving or going where you want to as a senior, do you have other senior peers like in the industry where you're sharing like craft technique, tips, and tricks, if you will?
Now I feel like a hypocrite going back on my own advice because wouldn't that be so valuable?
It
Um,
would.
I
Yeah.
do have a lot of friends that are seniors in the industry. We don't often talk about craft, though, to be honest with you. It's more about friendship and just kind of camaraderie. So, yeah, I would love to look into that a little bit more. I do keep a close circle of people that are 1 or 2 steps ahead of me, though. That
Mm,
I find also especially valuable. I mean, everybody knows the value of mentorship, right? But people at all different stages of the industry, there's always something to learn from them, right?
yeah, yeah. I think I I benefited a lot on the craft side early in my career, uh, of being around other craftspeople who were a little bit ahead of me and very willing to share craft. And I think you're right. Your experience of where that's not happening a lot with you, I've actually heard that a lot from others. I tend to work with a lot of people who have moved into senior leadership roles, and even the craft of leadership, of organizing and leading a team or managing budgets, like that side uh, is not shared a lot. It tends to be more encouragement or communities of venting, but not so much around, oh, here's how I've established metrics and instrumented them to track blah blah blah, the effectiveness of our organization. I don't see that craft level being shared. Zuzu, I'm curious, uh, in your communities, how is craft being shared or not?
Yeah, I have been thinking about it, listening to you too. It's hard to say. And it is actually something I seek a lot. I seek
Mm,
to give to others what I have, like what I learn. And I also seek to learn from others all the time. But that also gives me a lot of pressure, right? Like,
mm.
for example, when I got to your website, I am like, this is fantastic. Like, how making design a business. This is fantastic. I have to do this. And then I just think of myself, but I have other 5 courses I should be been doing too. And then you are so overwhelmed with everything you want to learn, and sometimes it feels that if you find the right mentor, and if they really went through the path you are looking for to go, that would indeed be the best option, because then you have a person to talk with and you don't feel that you are missing out the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this, I think, analogy of we know where we are now, we kind of know where we might want to go, and then we have no idea how to get there. And um, there's not a lot of people sort of sharing a playbook or one that is actionable around that. And uh, I was very fortunate when I moved into beyond senior and moved into management. There was somebody on my team that said something that kind of lit something up in me that I realized I hadn't been doing very well, as in terms of like sharing that craft. Is I provided a lot of emotional support and guidance, and could give them all sorts of tools and templates and whatnot. But they came to a meeting with me, and as we were leaving the meeting, they said, I know exactly what you were saying. I understood everything that was going on there, but I don't know how you get from my position to your position. And that's why I wanted to come work with you. And I think that conversation sort of lit up in me, oh, I've done a kind of a bad job of documenting my own path as I go, rather than trying to reflect and sort of sharing a wisdom quip about how I moved through, but really trying to intentionally track, here are these weird little things that I did in this moment that seemingly worked. I don't know if there's a pattern yet. I don't know if it's something that creates, that I can repeat, but I'm just going to document it. And that's something that I think doesn't get talked about, especially amongst those who become good at something or experts at something. I'm curious, Slime, when it comes to where you are hoping to go, uh, are there questions that you'd really like to ask that kind of feel like you can't?
Maybe I'm the wrong person to ask because I've never been afraid to be the one
Oh,
that
brilliant.
shows that I don't have the expertise or am still figuring it out, right? And I think that kind of speaks to my brand and maybe what's helped
Mm,
me get as far as I have. But no, I love to be noisy and ask those questions and see what it stirs up because you'd be really surprised. Some people
mm,
will send you a DM maybe if they want to speak privately on it, but a lot of people are sharing these same questions, right? So
mm,
I think maybe given the industry, it's a bit challenging to want to present yourself as someone that's not the expert, that doesn't have it figured out, which again, like Zuzu was talking about that pressure, right? Like we should paint ourselves in this way so that a hiring manager is wooed by all of our experience and all of our knowledge and that, everybody's still figuring out just about everything, right? So I hate this
yeah.
narrative that we're all, faking it and pretending like we've got it all sorted out. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind
I
of my
mean, it does.
yeah.
I appreciate that you're willing to ask those questions. I was a similar sort of
The
employee, if
annoying
you will.
person.
Uh, but going back, Zuzu, to this pressure, I think, you mentioned my website, but seeing somebody else who is maybe further along the journey than us, and how that unintentionally creates a situation where we might put pressure on ourselves to get there. And that can be um, like a freeze moment. And I wonder, Zuzu, because I believe you work with lots of earlier stage, career designers. Have they talked about that at all? Of sort of seeing this place that they want to get to, or seeing evidence of that, and how that is not actually encouraging him. It actually uh, makes them more stuck. Is that a pattern you're seeing?
Definitely. And,
Mm,
they are afraid. Everyone's afraid. It's afraid to ask, afraid to say that they did not go well on an interview, afraid to say that they just learned something new, that they
mm,
don't know this or that. And I feel that people stopped being open for some reason, like maybe because of the social media age that we live in, that everything is perfect. You show your stage and then go cry in your bed at night,
mm,
and it is so hard to get to someone and really speak the truth, and those connections are so rare. But I have seen and hear and commenting on both sides too, that when I am open up, like, this also passes with me, they are all like, how can it be, right?
mm,
And it feels so sad that people think that because maybe you have a senior level job, or you are maybe a manager in a company, that you were never rejected in your life, that you never got a
mm,
rejection letter, that they always write you feedback, that they, and and those questions, that asking for a simple feedback, I like when I go in interviews, or when I went many times, I always ask, and I tell you, 90% of the time I did not get the answer. Did that
mm,
made me cry over it. No, like the thing is that the one answer I got, I made use of that. And when I had a bad experience, or when I had a wish to, oh, Ryan, what did you do to achieve this, to arrive here? Can you tell me more? Is there something I should be doing that you see that I'm not doing? Is
Mm,
that so easy to ask and people are so afraid to do it? I do ask all the time, and what I get is either silence or an answer. And it's fine. Both are fine, because not everyone's driven by the same things. Not everyone has the same time. Some people you never get to LinkedIn, maybe once every second month. Some other people you'll be there every day for hours and
mm,
don't doing I don't know what. So it is really hard to have that right time to ask or right time to say things, because you never really know what is getting to that person. And this also goes to network, right? Like, I don't know
mm,
how you two experience that, because that is a huge thing for me when you are trying to get a job, when you are trying to learn from other people. People don't know how to network anymore. People write you a letter saying like, oh, please review my portfolio. It's like they did not say hello, or they did not get you 5 minutes to see something you are doing. Or not that I need that, but it's like, if you don't do this, do you really imagine that people you even pay attention to what you want to say? Like, if your first question is a request, that's so insane that people think that. So there are
mm.
so many things happening that I feel that they are kind of all connected and all making us estrange each other, so that we are so far.
Yeah. There's this dichotomy of having to present confidence and expertise while at the same time operating in places of fear that I think is very real for a lot of people. And I wonder, I always want to try to like bring it back up and encourage anybody who's watching. I wonder if there's any moments where in your careers where you sort of felt that sense of fear, and was there one tiny action that you took to kind of get you back into that place of curiosity and connection? I think there's, for all of us, there are these moments where we're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm doing it all wrong. And I'm curious, putting you on the spot a little bit really quickly, but are there any moments that you can recall, small moments, where you found yourself operating in that sense of fear, and maybe there was one little thing to help you get to that sort of forward momentum place again?
Oh, there's been so many moments like that, and unfortunately, most of them weren't little. So, when I got offered a senior position for my second role, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've made it." They offered me the salary, and I almost fell out of my chair. I couldn't believe, like, I was set, like, all I had to do was just show up, do this job, and, like, my life was made. And,
Mm,
I got fired at the 3-month mark because I didn't have enough seniority, and it just wasn't a good fit, and, there's things on both sides that could have been improved, but,
mm,
it's pretty shattering to somebody that's ego had maybe inflated a little too much at the time, right? So that really caused me to like pause, take a step back. And I actually learned so much in those 3 months. And I know it's like really annoying to be like the person that like looks at that positively, but thank God I did that. Like we were able to qualify for the mortgage on our house because I had that
mm,
salary, right? Like I
mm,
got to do so many projects in that 3 months I never would have at my previous position. And guess what? That got me the next senior title at a role I was hired for a month later, right? So, uh, just trying to have that confidence. And actually, it came back to like we were talking about before, like having a support network. So, talking to my mentor, talking to other people, hiring managers, hey, this is my portfolio, this is my resume. What level do you think I should be applying for? Or,
mm.
should I be going back to that intermediate level or kind of building my confidence back up, right? So,
Yeah.
having people that I can talk to and kind of validate things on,
Mm.
really, really valuable for me.
Yeah, I love that. And it sort of speaks to, I think for a lot of us, there are things that are completely out of our control that sort of act as a forcing function. We don't necessarily like them. They're not good. They're not fun to go through. Uh, but they are these little nudges to step into like some other movement, some other direction forward.
Yeah, and actually
Yeah.
going back to your point about asking people these tough questions, the more I slowly started revealing to people that I had actually been fired from the role, I've been let go, whatever you want to call it. Almost everybody that I talk to, oh, that happens at least once in your career. Oh, that happened to
Yeah.
me too. And who's talking about that? I was like shocked. Like, why is this not common knowledge? I felt so much shame at first. And then I just started to
Mm,
realize like this is actually a pretty normal experience for a lot of people that are pushing themselves to want to go higher and get to that next level, maybe a bit more at an accelerated pace, right?
yeah. Especially in industry like tech, like
Absolutely.
all
Yeah.
the time. Right. Right. Zuzu, that's great, Slime. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Zuzu, are there any things that you can recall of like moments where you were like in that fear, some tiny action kind of helped you get out of it?
Yeah, I can talk about my first job ever.
Mm,
This has been long, long ago. And I remember I was being asked about skills I didn't have. And I just said I had, really blunt like that. And I had 1 week period to work. I had a coworker sat on my side, and I made my goal to learn everything about those skills
mm,
that I needed by looking what he was doing. And of course, I would say that this 20 years ago makes a lot of sense that you would be able to do this. But coming to recent times, when AI was already more than ChatGPT, I was
mm,
very reluctant. I was like, oh my God, really? Do I need to change? Do I need to learn this? Why? No, this will vanish. No, I don't need that. And I was so reluctant to see that there were no way back. And
mm,
at some point when I started like, okay, so now it's time for me to scratch everything I learned and then try to improve it with the new tools, new ways, new workflows, new way to think and how to brainstorm with this AI and in every single detail you can, and you make the best use of it, was very, I would not say depressing, but almost like it was like a feeling that really I knew everything yesterday about this, and today I know nothing.
mm,
I have
mm.
to learn everything again. And that at certain point in your career feels like so much.
Exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Um, well, I really appreciate you both for jumping in and doing this. I know it's a little bit of a different format, but uh, these are the kind of conversations I think we have to have more of. A little bit open. It's kind of like what happens at dinner, but that not what happens at office or certainly online. And I appreciate you both sharing your vulnerability and your experience and uh, the little tips of just how we might think about breaking in or asking the questions that we don't ask. Um, Anything else that you wanted to close with?
No, this was fun. Thank you for having me. When's the next one so I can tune in?
Yeah, well, I've got to, promote the forum and let people know that they can do this and encourage other people to come. It's like that weird thing where I think if people who are working for themselves and trying to sell a newsletter subscription or whatnot, they actually want to be seen, but it probably won't be a conversation that's vulnerable and honest. And so I think for others, it's it's a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a leap for them to be uh, uh, in the place where they feel like they can talk. And hopefully this and previous episodes like this, when I begin to continue to do them, that others will join. I think,
I hope so too.
yeah,
This is great.
yeah, I think this is what it feels like to commune with people, rather than being an app called Community. So I'm really grateful for you both.
Hey, of course.
True. I just said, make your words my words. Like I feel that we need more of that. We
Mm,
need a little bit more openness. We need more people to talk openly. And even though we are not showing off who we are, it's not that hard to find out.
Yeah.
So right. So I feel that in a way we are speaking publicly about the things that we feel that are true, that we pass through, and that we just want a design community that does better, does a
mm,
better job to help each other.
mm. Well said. Uh, well, I'll let you get back to your days. Thank you both for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I will hopefully have the next one in the next week or two. We'll see.
Amazing. Thanks, Ryan. We'll talk to you
Thanks to
later.
everybody too for
Amazing.
jumping in online and hanging out with us.